I think most people who build digital twins are not product people. They're project people, or they are GIS or BIM people first before they're product people. And so the people who start small, deliver ROI early, get the confidence to build the second one, the third one, the fourth one. The people who say that I don't have time to build 100 use cases, so I'll build one platform that can do everything. 2 or 3 years after they have deployed it, they're searching for ROI. They have more and more features, more and more dashboards, and some of these big, wide twins flaming out now. But right next door is someone who built a digital twin for $50,000, and they built it in 8 weeks, and they love it.
Welcome to the Smarter Twins podcast. This episode, I'm pleased to host a digital twin expert with a mission to support companies navigate through the market buzz and technology hype, focus on receiving value out of the digital twins. Today, I'm welcoming Rob Foster, an entrepreneur with a blend of background with mining, technology, and business development. Through the past 25 years, Rob is active in mining and also the AEC industry. When the digital twin hype has started, Rob was from the first people who contributed to defining it further and shared his expertise across the different industries. Currently, Rob is the co-founder and CEO of Geminum, helping assets owners create and operate their digital twins. And I would love to share in this episode a very fresh news which were released earlier in May. So Rob has just published his first book, which is Designing Digital Twins. And in this book, he shared expertise from practice that he acquired through the different projects he led and worked with different companies. The book is available on multiple online stores, for example, like Amazon. I will definitely be reading that. And I also recommend you to do the same. And I think we will know more from Rob. But without further introductions, I'm excited to have you here, Rob. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Very, very happy to be here. And thank you for the invite and the lovely introduction. You certainly make me sound as if I know what I'm talking about, which is very nice.
I'm confident you are. Very good, Rob. So maybe just to kick it off, I did an intro, but I'm sure that intro doesn't cover the different aspects and the different expertise you have. So maybe just to bring to our audiences how you ended up here. So what brought you here? You have background in different industries, even you crossed through domain, through technology and so on. So what was your background? How did you come up with what you are doing today?
It's a good question and a strange story probably, but I find many people in digital twins have come from very, very different backgrounds, which is maybe one of the great things about twins. I actually started life in the army, in the Australian Defence Force. So I had a degree in mechanical and space engineering, and instead of going into aerospace, I joined the army. I guess I was not quite sure where I was going. And when I left the army, Australia was in the midst of a mining boom, and we were exporting Australian talent all over the world. Australians are strange people. I can say that as an Australian who travels a lot. We're very laid back. We like to work hard. We like to play hard, and we're welcome in most parts of the world. So very fortunate to be an Australian. We call it the lucky country. We are very lucky here. And in the mining boom, I got to travel a lot. So I got to see a lot of the world, a lot of Africa, Southeast Asia, Central America, and of course, lots of parts of Australia. Very big country with a big mining heritage and industry. And so I started life in mining as a design engineer. I was very fortunate to be able to then build some of the things that I had helped design. I then found out about commissioning and discovered that as a young design engineer, I really don't know much at all about how machines work. And from commissioning, I was very fortunate to work in operations and maintenance as well. So I got to see the full asset life cycle. I got to see it across many different places around the world. I was involved in feasibility studies and figuring out how we justify business cases, how we talk about future value and trade that off against technical complexity and commercial reality, which ended up in a period of my life of co-founding and running a gold mining company, which was very, very interesting couple of years. My wife might disagree strongly with the interesting word, but learned a huge amount of lessons about business and risk and creating value as well. And from that, I actually went into software. So it was at that time in my life where I knew if I didn't move into software, and I'd worked with software, of course, and technology as an engineer all over the world. But there's a big difference between being a user of software and a builder of software. And that's really, 10 years ago now where I really doubled down into software and technology. I was involved in digital transformation for a while. And that was very interesting as well. The people and process side of digital transformation always fascinated me. And I like building teams. I like creating change. And then I stumbled across digital twins just by accident where I was working, and we had to build a digital twin, and we really didn't know what it was. Everyone that I asked gave me a different answer, which of course we can talk about in 2025. That's the same is still true. But I was very fortunate to be able to learn, with other people's money, let's be very honest, and learn a lot of hard lessons. And at about that time, I really realized that for me as an engineer, as a mechanical engineer, digital twins just felt right. These were the tools for us to use technology to create change in the real world. And the idea of deeply connecting data and people and machines just seemed very obvious to me. I kind of wondered why no one else saw it, but I'm sure I was just projecting what I wanted to do. And at about that time, I decided to go back to uni as well. So while I was working, I started a master's in systems engineering. Again, I was very, very lucky to have a professor who also was very fascinated by digital twins and AI, and that was early then. Machine learning, of course, then. And so while I was working, I did my master's in systems engineering on digital twins and AI. And of course, having a theoretical underpinning was fantastic. Also, of course, I got to see that there was another 150 academic definitions for digital twins. Yeah. And then from there, it's been nothing but digital twins and a lot more of applied AI. And moving through the SaaS world with digital twins was also really a great experience. SaaS is a pure business model. I like SaaS. You learn some very harsh lessons about adoption. You learn some harsh lessons about the difference between building software and people using it and willing to keep paying for it. And I think for digital twins, that was the best training ground for digital twins. And then 2 years ago, we started our own business. So a few of us went out together. We had all been involved in digital twins. We all liked working together, as so many entrepreneurs and businesses start. We're founders and startup people, and now we're helping other people build and design digital twins all over the world. We're building our own first products as well, and we've been very fortunate to see a lot of other people's digital twins, and I've been very fortunate to work with digital twin teams and technology teams and consulting teams who've never built digital twins or who have built them and they didn't go very well. And that's really where the book came from, was ending up
zombies, if I'm not wrong. You call them.
I know a few zombie twins, and of course, there's a lot of homegrown software solutions inside large organizations now. The rise of low and no code has led to a proliferation of building things. And then there's radical differences between how AEC and architects view digital twins versus, say, oil and gas in operations and maintenance versus GIS first power companies. And we've been really lucky as a small business, honestly, to see inside and see under the hood of digital twins and to speak to people who are using them or not using them and why. And that's still the journey that we're on. So people say to me, "Oh, you're an expert and you speak at conferences and you help train people." And I'm like, yes, I learned 3 new things this week about digital twins, and one of them is challenging my assumptions. And so we're still all early in the journey, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is always the problem of how you can tackle digital twins. Like I hear a lot of people describe digital twins as the big elephant, where people see the ears, people see the tail of it, or describe it differently based on their perspective. But so you started from space, and I think now there is a hype about space. So maybe you should reconsider.
Well, it's very interesting you say that. And space was always my first love. As from being a young child, and
it's coming back to you. You have to be careful.
It's coming back. And Australia's not big in the space industry, but we have some very interesting things. But now that I do a lot of work in the United States, and sadly a little bit, I think, because the defense industries around the world now are really starting to ramp up again. And so we do have a few people who are talking to us about aerospace related, and in particular around decision support and semi-autonomous command and control at the edge, and some of those things that are a little bit further away than some industries. But of course, many people are now seeking this autonomy, not just in vehicles, but in operations and maintenance and safety. And those are really the areas that we love working in those areas. So, if I could work on, a constellation of mining robots that are going to take apart an asteroid, of course, I'd be very excited.
So mixing space and mining and digital twins, this would be the best cocktail you can have.
That would be my ikigai, my overlap of what I love and what I can get paid to do would certainly be, and a little bit in deep sea mining that I've done as well, which is very similar to outer space in the sense that no humans are really welcome there, and our conventional ways of operating and maintaining machinery and making decisions are all challenged. And I guess I'm attracted to challenging assumptions, including my own.
That's good. I mean, this is how we progress and how we explore new things. This is curiosity, and that's very important today. Very good. So I would love to maybe take one more point on what you described. So you mentioned this kind of patterns, there is technology or there are some challenges. You try to come up with a solution and then try to define a use case, try to think of ROI and value. You did this for 20 years. So this is something that you started talking about from your first projects or jobs you have done before. And I still believe it's the same pattern. I mean,
it's the same to me.
Yeah?
Oh, it so is, Jimmy. Look, it's funny you say like the ears and the tail and the trunk. But I think, AI is going through the same challenges right now as well. And once we get old enough, I guess we start to see patterns repeating. But certainly, I have spent my professional life sort of bridging the worlds between what could be and what needs to be reality. And whether you're building something in a very remote area where it's very difficult to access skilled labor, or something as simple as pouring concrete in a very remote area can be very, very difficult and technically challenging. And most people in the world think, oh man, concrete is very simple. But technology is very similar, I find, where we see the part that we are the most interested in, and we think that is the most important part, or we see the part where we have come from, and that is our bias. But when we try to create change in the real world, whether we call it digital transformation or just building software or just managing people to create something new, there's many unknowns. It looks very different to the person on the ground pouring concrete to the person in the boardroom who approves the budget. And yet they are all working on the same thing. I think in technology and digital twins and AI, we just don't have hundreds of years of legacy to rest on. It's so new and there's so many new words. but in a very, very boring way. I do really think we're just trying to create change in the real world. And maybe the only difference for digital twins and applied AI now, or physical AI, is many technology people are sort of being introduced to the real world for the first time in their professional lives. They're no longer just sitting behind a desk coding. Now they're changing robots, or EVs are out driving on the road, and the model that they deployed 6 months ago has a huge impact on people's lives. And so I think as well for technology people, they've grown up and out very quickly, but it's still very new. And now we're applying the very new to the very old, and two worlds are colliding as they always do. Yeah. And I think in 10 years, I think digital twins might not even really be a phrase in many industries. I think industrial software, people will say, what do you mean connect it to the real world? Of course we're measuring real-time data. Of course we're measuring what changes occur. That's just technology. What do you why are you calling it a digital twin?
Yes.
I think some domains, digital twin, the phrase will actually fade away because it will just be common sense.
And more specific to their workflows.
They'll have their own terminology that is specific to the domain, because it'll be a big enough domain. Yeah.
And this brings me to the question. So there is mining, and there is AEC, there is machinery, and then there is a building, and there is, there are different directions. Like when you talk about a machinery on the site, or some mining site, versus construction site and building a hospital, for example. And then also the size of the digital twin. Are we talking about the occupancy of the entire utilization of the spaces of the building, or energy consumption, versus also machinery, or like industry 4.0 and whatever things that are being already advanced in manufacturing, for example. So what's your vision on this, or what kind of learnings you had through those kind of interactions? I feel you worked on both sides in detail.
Definitely have worked and am working now. Sometimes I feel a little bit schizophrenic because, every day now I'm working across multiple domains and industries. I think the subject matter expertise for the problems and the uniqueness of the domain and the problem is really important. I think with the rise of platforms, sometimes we are at great risk of going too wide and too shallow and attempting to apply the Swiss Army knife to every problem. But some problems only need one very small tool to make the change that they are after. And some cities then are searching for platforms that they can build city-scale digital twins. And they don't even have a vision of what that twin will do. They just know they want it. They don't really know why. And of course, every city is made up of 20 or 30 or 40 departments. And if you ask the wastewater treatment and the motor vehicle people, if they want the same thing from the city digital twin, they want very different things. I do think, though, that now we are just getting to the maturity and the number of twins built where there are some horizontal use cases and patterns emerging. But I do think that most twins today are finding the ratio of the common horizontal use cases that provides the benefits to all, and the very specific, unique vertical use cases that enables the organization or the facility or the workflow to be as effective as possible. I think that mixture of horizontal and vertical now is becoming recognized, and it's a huge challenge for professional services firms that build twins, because they can't support them because they're not software companies, and they can't scale them because they're not software companies. And it's a huge challenge for those of us who are technology people, because the specificity of unique use cases often demands more of a professional services business model, because otherwise you just cannot spend the time and the energy and bring the experts to bear to solve a very narrow, deep problem well. And so I think twins are a bit at the forefront of technology and services together. And that's a challenge for every business and every business model. And certainly that's where we sort of normally start, is trying to understand how wide and how deep people are trying to go. And if they want to go very wide and very deep on everything, that's when we start saying, slow down. You're embarking on a project much larger than your lifetime. Let's get some early wins and let's understand the direction we're going in.
Try to bring it down to smaller.
Don't aim for the sun.
Yeah, definitely. And the more you apply it in smaller pieces and you see already some return of investment or understand what the values, what's the potential of the technology, the more you will make even better decisions how you roll it out. So sometimes it makes sense to apply it in a smaller scale, learn from it, also learn for yourself what kind of information you need to provide for it and what you can get.
I think we've almost become the poster children. And then it's interesting because we talk to some of the very big platform players, but, we've kind of become the people who are advocating for small, fast, and rapid iterations. And of course, for product people, small, fast, rapid iterations is the way of working. But I think most people who build digital twins are not product people. They're project people, or they are GIS or BIM people first before they're product people. And so the people who start small, deliver ROI early, get the confidence to build the second one, the third one, the fourth one. The people who say that I don't have time to build 100 use cases, so I'll build one platform that can do everything. Very often 2 or 3 years after they have deployed it, they're searching for ROI, they're reverse engineering the capabilities they've built for use cases, they're desperately asking their own people, what else would you want? And for product people, of course, this is feature creep. So these big platforms actually get bigger. They have more and more features, more and more dashboards, and less adoption and usage. And some of these big, wide twins are flaming out now. They are getting through 3 years of budget. There's still almost no one using them. Everyone's saying, oh my God, digital twins are so expensive. They don't do anything. But right next door is someone who built a digital twin for $50,000 and they built it in 8 weeks and they love it and they want another one and another one. And so I think niching, I think extensibility, I think scalability and iterations, these very boring product methodologies are very, very suitable for digital twins. Yeah.
And this brings us to the thinking of what are the ingredients of digital twins? I think you mentioned GIS, BIM, and different things. So ingredients here matter to some degree, but maybe not the same outcome. And I think this is your philosophy, to be honest. I'm playing you wrong.
No, it is. It is a little bit, yeah. I think now based on who I'm talking to and what industry they're in, you can tell which ingredients they are used to using. And, I think there's a big convergence happening in twin platform land, especially of GIS, BIM and OT. I think ultimately many digital twin platforms are now starting to look the same. And that's a common thing when markets start to mature. It's I think it's one of the first signs of market maturity is where the leading players all end up looking the same and then they have to go searching for differentiation again. 5 years ago, just being a digital twin business was differentiation. But today, ArcGIS Pro and Esri are starting to look like Tandem, who's starting to look like some of Hexagon's products. And so I think that's a good sign. That's almost commoditization of the major data types and the major data disciplines. But when you insert safety in there now and you start talking about spatial data and real-time location and machine vision models from cameras, okay, is that OT? Does that belong to OT or IT or ET? There's plenty of acronyms, of course, but I think those are the really interesting cross-functional, cross-discipline use cases where you need data from engineers, data from maintenance, data from work management, data from SCADA, data from IoT. No one inside a business owns all of those different pieces. And it's really no one's job to fuse data and re-engineer workflows to improve safety. The safety people, of course, are responsible for safety processes. They're never empowered to go and make changes to work management or how we do asset inspections. So I think the maturity that is leading to some fear in platform land is precisely because now we can bring together many different data types, many ingredients. But if you get all the way down to inspections of areas where you're supposed to have a specific permit for a confined space and you're only supposed to be there between the hours of 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. and all of the systems around it should be isolated by engineering before and after. When you get down to that level in a use case, out of all of the ingredients there are, you really need to know the 5 or 6 very precise things that you need. You need to understand that fidelity of data and that synchronization in terms of how much time matters now. And I think that's the level where the really interesting use cases are being solved. But if you just try and throw GIS and BIM and OT data at that use case,
look at them and then
you have a very low probability, of you can build a dashboard with all the data, but you may not actually be changing the way people work. You might not be changing whether people are really safe. And you may not even be able to measure whether you are improving safety just on the basis of whether sensors are still running or something is polling every 5 seconds. And so we're very happy that we're still gathering data. I think that's where we're at in the industry now.
Very good. I think you already touched upon use cases. If I now ask you for the top use cases in your mind, so I see we have safety. What else? So if you think like from all those projects you have done so far, what will be the top most 3 and maybe a couple of more interesting? Why not? I mean, use cases for digital twins. Whenever I know more about them, I'm more interested to listen. Honestly, it's like something you feel it exists that you can see and you can touch. And the more you can define it, the better.
The better, yeah. We have a use case library. We realized maybe 12 months ago building use cases for our own knowledge and learning and to help seed conversations with customers and partners was a form of IP. And we've really doubled and tripled down on use cases now. And of course, we find when we talk about use cases rather than what a digital twin is, we have a much more constructive conversation with non-digital twin people. Or when 5 digital twin people meet in a bar and talk about digital twins, we can avoid fights over beers about what a digital twin is. But I think safety is really probably the most interesting one, precisely because some of, a great many safety systems today are lagging administrative and compliance applications. They are, did you follow the rules? Were the rules followed last week? I think real-time and predictive safety is extremely powerful, extremely scary, because if you make the wrong prediction, you could make safety worse. But of course, frontline managers are making predictions about what will and won't happen every second of every day. So I think safety is an amazing place, especially with what's happening now with the really low cost of capture of real-time LiDAR and things like that. That's fantastic. And the ability for real-time feedback and reinforcement learning for machine vision models, that's exploding. I think trade-offs. So the other really big one that we see is between production and maintenance, the trade-offs around throughput and utilization of assets and availability. Some of those really core legacy metrics where the maintenance people are optimizing for maximum availability. They never want to be caught with a machine that is dead when production wants to use it. And on the production side, of course, they never want to give maintenance access to machines that need to run because it's reducing run time and it's increasing downtime, and they point the finger at each other. But I think where we've worked with production and maintenance together around trading off individual equipment availability versus system throughput. And I think that's a really interesting one for digital twins of the local global view very often we optimize for the local view at the equipment level, the asset level. But when we start to look at the global view of optimizing unit economics, not just maximizing throughput, the trade-offs that can be made in near real time on a production floor as opposed to on a 30-day production plan, that 5 minutes, that 10 minutes, that 1 hour, that's, those decisions all add up very quickly. And when the patterns start to become clear around counterproductive behavior from local silos that's impacting global throughput, global metrics, amazing conversations happen. Probably some of the best conversations I've ever had in my life have been around trade-offs where the two 40-year-old experts in the room both know the answer, but they have very siloed metrics, siloed KPIs, siloed incentives, and they've been taught to kind of fight for budget, fight for people. Digital twins that bring it all out in the open where we can all see counterproductive behavior, and we can see when the system is incentivizing individual experts to make counterproductive decisions. Like I said, I think maybe the best conversations in my professional life have ever happened in those ones in the last few years. Amazing breakthroughs that people were talking about for 20 years, but until they could see it and until they could collaborate in real time, it was always just a discussion paper in an executive meeting or a boardroom. Why can't our ops and maintenance people just work together better, And so I think trade-offs and safety are really becoming powerful and very real.
Yeah, apparently we need a digital twin of people and understanding with how can we optimize making.
How can we optimize people? It's like we're doing some projects with people who are building agents right now, and agentic AI is really, really fascinating because some of the anthropomorphization, I think, of technology is spilling over into agents massively, and almost talking about managing agents as if it's a HR function. We need to improve the morale of our agents. The beatings will continue until morale improves. But of course it is technology, and they are algorithms, and biases are not just human things, of course. They're also what data and incentives we expose to them. So we're involved in a proof of concept right now where we actually have sandboxed and we've got a couple of cohorts of agents, and what we've put forward is the experiment is if we expose agents to siloed incentives and the current organizational design versus a cross-functional workflow and a global optimization, will the agents behave differently? No one should be shocked by the answer. If you feed an agent certain data, it goes in a certain direction. If you feed it different data, it can go in a different direction. But I think even seeing those, the funny part of that conversation has been technical humans observing agents and then reflecting, hey, do you think this is true for humans in our department as well? And so we're actually sort of witnessing these early conversations of people observing agents to learn more about human behavior.
Human behavior, okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, the human factor is very important. It has a high impact on the success of digital twins implementations. So
massively, and I think even more than change management, I really think, especially when you're designing use cases with people, the change management starts at the beginning around defining the problem and validating the shape of the problem for the people who have it, not just the abstracted financial metric. And we are very big advocates, and my business partner Dave is a change management expert, cybersecurity and change management, which you don't normally see those two things come together, but Dave's an odd duck. I guess that's why we're business partners.
Very good. To go back to the use cases, we said safety, throughput, and the third
safety. So safety and trade-off, I think production and maintenance, really big ones. I think the other one is command and control. And so this the rise of remote operation centers, the rise of the headquarters being able to see real-time data across all of the assets and sites around the world. That now already that paradigm is really starting to shake, because what has happened is big companies have built huge remote operation centers, and they haven't reduced the people at the site at all, because so many of the people at site have to work at the site, have to use their hands and their eyes and their ears. And so this ability to start to connect people and assets and processes, regardless of their location, is really starting to open up not just remote operations where there's 400 people staring at screens and each screen is very fixed and each person stares at their screen and is not allowed to look at any others. I've seen a lot of remote operation centers that are even more siloed than the site that they're helping. But virtual operation centers now are becoming where, we need an engineer in Italy and to work with a site in Australia that is using an OEM equipment that came out of Chicago. How do we bring the right people from the right places together at the right time to collaborate? And how do we give them all access to the right data that they need with respect to permissions, authentication, security, GDPR, and those really gnarly cross-functional remote use cases? Some of those are starting to really open up almost Pandora's box of, wait a minute, if this engineer in Italy who knows these 3 very specific things could be available at the right time, we wouldn't have to wait 3 months for the next time that she flies back to site. Why don't we talk to her every month? Why don't we talk to her when we need to? Why don't we help her understand what problems we're having before she talks to us? And so there's these conversations flowing now from remoteness that originally were all about reducing FTEs and reducing people at site, but are now turning into advanced, enhanced collaboration between remote people. And I think metaverse was kind of an early future echo. I have to admit, I really dislike where metaverse has gone with avatars in Teams meetings. Jimmy, you and I, we must spend 20 or 30 hours a week in video calls already. I don't need an avatar of myself with VR goggles to sit in the same meeting room talking to the same people, but doing risk assessments on site with people who will never visit the site in person and who can then go back and have a much better understanding of context and situation. That's amazing. Those are amazing use cases for metaverse related to remoteness. And yeah, I think we haven't even scratched the surface of true remote work yet. I think that's still to come. And I think applied and physical AI might actually be the thing in a fit of irony that unlocks true remote work as opposed to just Zoom and Teams because of the pandemic.
And sometimes if we imagine those metaverse, omniverse, all of those verses came out, maybe there will be a simpler way sometimes. Like, if we can go through 3D environment versus sometimes just navigating through images, like panorama 360s. Sometimes I feel more natural there and I see reality.
Cameras now are becoming ubiquitous for security. The ability to say take streams from cameras and be able to create a real-time simulation that can then be used by anyone for anything is really starting to unlock experienced people instantly recognizing patterns of what's happening without analytics, without complex AI models. It's just because they've been working in that industry for 40 years and they look at it and go, hey, look at that straight away. They get it straight away, and someone who's never worked in the industry could spend 10 years trying to build a data model. But I think sometimes just bringing expertise to the problem doesn't sound sophisticated, but my gosh, if you get the right person at the right place looking at the right problem in the right way, sometimes they can solve it in 5 minutes when it took everyone else 5 years. And that's exciting but scary for people who design use cases like me as well.
I think from your experience so far, you also mentioned AI multiple times. And I also see there is a lot of demand from the market. Oh, I want AI. I want to digital twin with AI. It's like becoming like a additional button that you want to buy. And now people might end up following technology. I mean, technology is nice. People need to get exposed to it to learn what it can do, of course. But at the same time, if they want to roll it out on a scale, then even people mention robotics as well. So robotics, AI, and so on. It's huge, and it's a lot of investments. So is this a statement true if we say putting those together will work, but you need the proper process, we need the proper scoping, the proper use case, and the proper, maybe the gradual journey maturity of understanding ROIs and values coming from those?
Look, I completely agree. And obviously I'm extremely biased because I like twins, but to me, and you can tell we're talking about safety. We were talking about control centers. I work in a world where people die every day. People are killed through accidents that are no fault of their own, or sometimes no fault of anyone. So when people talk about deploying AI systems and throwing away their experienced middle layers and AI will save us, it creates an emotional reaction in me as well, because I've been there. I've seen people die on sites, and the risks that we take every day, necessitate not moving slowly, but understanding what we're doing and trying things out, because those of us who have built real things and done complex things know that there are unintended consequences to even the best change. We're doing quite a bit of work at the moment where the digital twin is what we call a wrapper now, and we're calling them wrappers. It purely exists to wrap up the AI model, and we do that because the twin provides connectivity. It provides context for the humans who are using the model. It provides, feedback from humans and users back to the people who train the model. It provides guardrails. You can put guardrails in there, and you can put, triggers and thresholds and logical and deterministic guardrails on generative solutions. But we really see AI as being an incredible enabler, and digital twins as an enabler of AI. And so AI and digital twins, I think, will steadily converge more and more. But I do think that, certain digital twins, say a digital twin of a factory, will end up having 300 or 400 AI models in use every day. There'll be a new software-defined model pushed to the edge for a particular robot that does welding that they bought 10 years ago. That one robot, we need to manage what model it's using, how well the model. We need guardrails around the robot and the model based on the other changes in the environment. So I think the robot will have a digital twin of the robot because the manufacturer of the robot will have built a digital twin. I think that digital twin will be interoperable with the factory digital twin. I think data models will be separate from the digital twin because we're going to keep wanting to iterate the data model. And I think the factory digital twin will have thousands of equipment digital twins in it. It will have hundreds of AI models that are changing very quickly. And then there will be meta models that are managing groups of models. There will be horizontal models that are connecting factories to other factories. And so I think the ecosystem of digital twins and AI will grow more and more complex. And it will be very, very difficult for individual humans to be able to manage that complexity. And so I think governance, the governance of many AI models will actually be the bottleneck for industrial adoption. And that governance will be safety, it'll be risk, but it'll also just be flat out model management and constraints and changes to management operating systems. And if we leave that governance to humans, I think we are actually at a lot of risk. If we hand that governance to AI as it is currently, we are at huge risk. And so either way, rapid adoption of AI without governance is risky both ways now, I think.
We need the governance digital twin. That was all. Now
we need a governance twin. We should coin it right now, Jimmy. You and I should design and build it. But
we should just implement it, work for it, and just push for it.
It really is one of the I think governance is very unsexy. I think there's very often not budget for governance. But I think governance of AI and people is
I think people
much
will
bigger than
definitely say
compliance.
it's a must-have. It will be a must-have piece, With your description of having multiple digital twins, so I imagine now a diagram with the small vertical pieces of digital twins connected to bigger digital twin, and then there is some horizontal things on top.
There's process twins that cut across the twins. We see it already in some of the heavy industrial facilities where there's already dozens of twins, and then some of the OEMs are shipping twins with complex machinery right now every day. There's some organizations we've worked with where 4 different teams have built digital twins of the same facilities in the same time period with different budgets. So there's twins are proliferating, but I think interoperability is not just APIs or agent management systems. I think interoperability is also designing and managing an ecosystem, not just my API is RESTful. Yeah, okay, that's great. That's out of the box now. You must do that. But RESTful APIs do not create an interoperable ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. They are one piece. They are the gateway, let's say, or the door opener, but not more than that.
Not more than that. And with generative solutions as well now, and with agents, I think, lots of people have built very large data lakes and are letting things loose on or in their lakes. And people like Snowflake now, are effectively implementing RAGs within the Snowflake instance. There's going to be an awful lot of outputs that are opaque, that become inputs into other opaque models. And so the provenance of data, not just the format of data, I think and that's a challenge, for information management paradigms where we've been very focused on metadata and file types, and we've been, seeking common data environments for a long time, bit of a unicorn CDEs, but I think now, it would be very possible to have very clean data of the correct format that is available to all and is terribly wrong. And again, information management has never really dipped its toes into whether data is right or wrong to be used. They've tried to make it available and interoperable and high quality. But I think quality alone is not enough. Standards alone are not enough. We need to know how we're going to use the data and what we're going to use it for.
The relationships between it, the connection.
That's it. Good data for one use case could be very bad data for another use case inside the same organization. And that's a challenging notion for anyone to get their head around, I think.
Designing digital twins. So we are talking about designing digital twins for the past.
Why would you write a book, Jimmy? Why would you write a book when you've got 2 kids and a full-time job? That's crazy.
Yeah, I was wondering, why did you write only one book? Because I think you can do more.
My wife's not in the room, Jimmy, so I'll tell you that I'm 7,000 or 8,000 words into the next book, and I've been making notes on it for a year because there's another one bubbling up out of me. So I guess like most authors, it probably wasn't really a conscious choice. It was something I had to do to get it off my chest.
So to our audience, how do you summarize the book? How can we give quick heads up or overview of what people can expect through that book? I think they already got a feeling of how you talk about things, which is embedded, I believe, in the different chapters.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I think. Look, I wrote the book for people who are building twins inside organizations where building twins is maybe not their core business. So, I wrote it for people who have been given the task or who want to build digital twins or who are building solutions that are highly connected with the real world. And whether they call it a digital twin or not, that interconnection for me is the really important part. And so the book is a journey. I do define digital twins, but then I give people a lot of very pragmatic advice. If you don't know what to do here, think about this. If you don't know what to do here, here's a process to follow. And so inside the book, there is a digital twin design process. I've staged it out. It is an iterative process starting from, I don't even know what the problem is, defining and validating a problem. I give people tips around how to get budget to validate problems. And if you can't validate the problem, put some budget in delivery to keep validating and don't tell your boss about it. This is I've written it like a conversation between two professionals about how do we get the right outcome for our users and our organization. And the journey there then is there's a process, it's step by step. There's a whole bunch of checklists and things. I've put some Miro boards up on Miroverse where people can download templates to use for free at home or at work. And then there's the last sort of third of the book is delivery advice. Here's 150 things that I've learned building, designing twins, seeing other people, where they went wrong, where they went right. So I've really tried to make it pragmatic. I've really tried to make it that if you are a consultant in McKinsey or a project manager in Bechtel or a construction engineer in London working for the Department of Environment, there's something in there to help you. There are tools, there's checklists, there's sheets for how to procure digital twins, how to think about finding expertise to help you with your digital twin. And the common thread the whole way along is a lot of the things that we've learned in product management can be very helpful for you. You don't have to call yourself a product manager. You don't have to understand what discovery is or the double diamond. I show what they are, but I also say, hey, here's how you go and talk to users. Here's how you carve some time out to learn about problems. Here's why you don't ask users what feature they'd like. Feature utilization. Here's why you measure utilization. So I've really tried to give it to individuals who might work in a business where they want to break out of the shackles, or they've been given no guidance at all on how to help the people that they've been told to help. And that's my hope for the book is that at the end of it, people say, okay, in my business with my job, here's the 4 or 5 things I'm going to try next month. And then I'm going to refer back to this book and I'm going to read some more from this crazy guy from Australia who thinks that he knows more than me. But I want them to think about how do they create value? How do they solve real problems? And how do they do it again and again and again? And yeah, I don't care if they call it a digital twin, and I don't care what their job title is, but I hope they can help more people more often. Yeah.
Definitely. And I believe it's really necessary today to be able to go through this process. Today, there's no process. And when you speak to people, it's not easy to define so what do we want? How do we communicate it to the internal stakeholders? What are we accountable to deliver at the end? And how can we go there? And they end up trying 10 tools from the market and then get driven into technology, and then they spend some money on something, they come back, they don't know what to do.
Something, and yeah, look, we have been offering a service for 2 years, which we never in a million years thought we would do, which is we call it revitalization. And people who are halfway through building a very big twin or who have already built a twin and it doesn't do anything or it doesn't help anyone, they end up reaching out and saying, hey, you're sort of agnostic. You're not associated with any of the big platforms. You're not from the big professional consulting businesses. Can you come and have a look at what we've done? And of course, I always start by just saying, what were you building the twin for? What was the purpose of the twin? And they look at me and go, well, we followed the ISO standard on BIM. And I'm like, no, just it's okay.
Delivery.
Let's leave the building if we have to, and we'll go to a cafe and we can talk over a coffee. Why? Why did you do this? And they say, not really sure I remember anymore. I'm like, okay, it's good to admit that. It's a good place to start. But before you adopt 25 standards, before you whip yourself for not using all of your Azure services, and we are an Azure house and I must use ADT and I must use Azure. Okay. But let's go back to what we were trying to achieve. What change in the real world or what problem? And I really try and, I guess sometimes it sounds a bit silly even to me, but trying to find the why of things and giving people tools and language and a process to find the why. Once they know the why,
it's the source of the value.
Yeah. Almost any process then is better than having no why and making everything up. And so I say very clearly in the book, this is not the process. I didn't know of any other process of how to design and think about twins. So we created one and changed it 25 times over the last few years. We don't have a lock and key on the right way to do it, but if you have no process, here's one that we have used, that we've validated. Please change what doesn't work for you. Please adapt it. Please learn from it and tell me the things that don't work. In 5 years' time, I'm sure I'll have a different process from what I've learned, but don't start with a blank piece of paper and an ISO standard, because I fear for you. Yes.
Yes. And let people buy it to know more. So I think it's available online. I saw it personally on Amazon, so it's available.
Amazon or all over the world, yeah. And you can buy the Kindle version or the soft cover version as well. And so, some people still like physical books to read on planes and that. And yeah, look, I'll be very honest. I've had really wonderful feedback, and I've also had people ring me who've been building digital twins for 10 years, and they've rung me and said, "Can we just talk?" And we've talked for 30 or 40 minutes. It's not a sales call. I'm not selling anything. But of course, I'm learning from people who it's created some sort of need in them to reach out and talk about things that they're struggling with. And so that has been an unexpected and really amazing benefit just over the last 3 or 4 weeks of people I would have never met in my life. And that as well is wonderful, when you can kind of find your community, find your people, then it's good for all of us.
But don't take them to space to mine some asteroids. So
for now, that's definitely my next startup. I've actually told the guys in Geminum, I've said, I'm very sorry, but when we're on the moon and we're forward deploying engineers to Mars and I'm asking for volunteers, I expect that you will go. That's part of startup life.
You committed already to this. Very good. Rob, a lot of advices, a lot of nice insights. Honestly, I would like that to give also our audience some, let's say, final advices from your side. Like, what would you tell them today to, let's say, the first things need to do? So beside buying the book, which I recommend to people to do, what do you recommend to them to tackle their daily challenges, to explore digital twins, design with digital twins, and try to get value out of them?
I think the first thing to do is really to start with why. Everyone gives advice around starting with the end in mind. I think even if you are just writing down what you think the why is, the end that you are aiming for, the problem that you are trying to solve, write down 5 or 10 or 20 of them and go to the people that you've been told you're building the twin for and talk about it with them. And then go to your boss and talk about why you think you're building it and what the people that you're building it for said. You will have a series of amazing conversations, and I give you my guarantee. I'll send you a free book if it doesn't happen. The scope of the digital twin will change. And so I would urge everyone, no matter what is written on the first piece of paper, almost certainly the people who wrote it have not thought deeply about the why in the end, and no one's given them any tools to do that. Go talk to your users, then talk to your boss. Then you have a direction that has some chance of being successful, solving a real problem and making your boss or your client happy. And you have to do both. And if you hold that in your head all the time, how do I solve problems for people? How do I create outcomes for the organization that's paying for it? If you hold those 2 ideas in your head every week, every Monday morning, every team meeting, I don't know what you'll build and I don't know how you'll build it, but I guarantee the thing that you'll build will be more valuable and people will be happier, and you'll get a chance to build more twins and more solutions because you might be the only person in the building trying to do those 2 things.
Change and transformation, and seems to be the power to push digital twins going forward. That's very
can open doors that are amazing because no one else has done it. And the fact that they haven't done it doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means that we haven't learned enough yet in the industry. And so everyone building twins today is early. We're early in the industry. learn from people who are 5 minutes ahead of you, and then pass that on to people who are 5 minutes behind you, and we'll all do better next year than this year.
Very good, Rob. So if listeners would like to reach you out, I know you're very well known on LinkedIn and different platforms, but let me know maybe if you can share with us here how they can find you or reach you the best way.
Yeah, for sure. So LinkedIn, if you just look for Rob Foster or Rob Digital Twins, you will find me. Our company, Geminum, www.geminum.co, which is not that easy to remember, but it's a Greek word, so it should be easier in Europe than it is in Australia. But even if you just Google, Rob Digital Twins, I'm out there enough that you'll be able to find me and find a way to reach out. And yes, literally anyone who wants to talk about twins and AI and how we create change in the real world. I love meeting new people. My wife says I talk way too much. I apologize, but I do love what I do, so I'm very happy to share, for sure.
That's awesome, Rob. I will make sure to include this information also in the podcast when we publish it, so also it can be easily accessible for our listeners. It was great having you here, Rob. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity.